Okay, well, welcome everybody to the April 19th Public Council meeting for the town of Conception Bay South. It's great to welcome everyone back into chambers for the first time since December 21st of last year. Good to be back to work here at Town Hall, and it's a beautiful sunny day here in Conception Bay South, a great spring day. So let's get down to business. First thing off the agenda today is adoption of the agenda for this evening's meeting. Do I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Connor, seconded by Councillor Barrett. All in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Adoption of the meeting minutes for April the 5th, 2022. Somebody move, please. Moved by Councillor Tilley, seconded by Councillor Moores. All in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Okay, business arising from the previous minutes. We'll deal with that as we go forward. And tonight, proclamations. We have a proclamation for Volunteer Week. So, whereas 24 million Canadians give their time through formal or informal types of volunteering, contributing to close to 5 billion volunteer hours per year, and whereas volunteers in Conception Bay South mentor our children, support those feeling isolated, beautify our green spaces, and fundraise for our charitable organizations, and whereas volunteers in Conception Bay South have stepped up during the COVID-19 pandemic to support families, friends, neighbors, and strangers, and people standing up to systemic racism, and people sharing insights on how to create a more just and equitable society. And whereas Conception Bay South's volunteers are individuals, families, workers, retirees, community members of all ages and backgrounds, and whereas the collective result of the work done by the town's volunteers is that Conception Bay South is a more desirable place to live. And whereas organizations in Conception Bay South that rely on volunteers, such as fundamental organizations as our community and sports organizations, service clubs, volunteer groups, and so many more, and now therefore I, Darren Bent, Mayor of Conception Bay South, do hereby proclaim April 24th through 30th, 2022, as National Volunteer Week, and urge my fellow citizens to recognize the crucial role played by volunteers in our community. And of course, Conception Bay South is blessed with so many community-minded organizations and individuals that have helped build this community over the past 50 years. And thank you very much for all the efforts that you put into our community, our organizations, working with our young people and our seniors and all the groups. So fantastic effort by everybody. And again, thank you on behalf of council. Okay, so new business. We're going to start going around the circle to my right, your left, I suppose, with Deputy Mayor Andrea Goss.
Thank you, Mayor Bent. In keeping with National Volunteer Week, I'm just going to take a minute to extend a sincerest thank you to all the volunteers in our community. Over the years, I've had lots of opportunity to work with fine people here in Conception Bay South that give hours and hours for all the different organizations, the service groups, the youth organizations, the committees, the boards, breakfast programs, community gardens. We've had some major events in our town over the last number of years. The 2016 Summer Games, where we had some 500-600 volunteers come forward ready to give their time and energies to create a superb event and a fabulous experience for the youth. And I work personally with a lot of these people, and they're still here working in our community. We had the Pinty's Grand Slam of curling here two times in the last few years, and once again we put the call out and people came out and gave up their time, and I also had the opportunity to coordinate that and work with these people directly. So I know the value of volunteers, and sometimes you feel like it's a thankless job, but I can tell you our community wouldn't thrive, it wouldn't be as great a place as it is without them. So I just want to have the opportunity to say thank you to all the volunteers in Conception Bay South. Keep doing what you do, because it truly does make our community a better place. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Well said. Councillor Hillier.
Yes, Your Worship. I intended to speak on Volunteer Week, but I'm sure I couldn't have done as well as Deputy Mayor has done, and certainly I agree with everything she said, and just very simply on behalf of my family, I want to thank all the volunteers that make our lives better as residents of Conception Bay South. And I'll move that along right now because I believe we've got 11 items in our planning agenda for tonight. So we'll let somebody else move on and carry on this particular portion of the agenda.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Hillier. We'll be hearing a lot more from you in the not-too-distant future. Okay, Councillor Connors.
Just one item for now. I'm going to bring up some stuff from the Northeast Avalanche Joint Council meeting later on. But I just wanted to, volunteers again, I guess, by the CBR Junior Renegades and the CBS Senior Blues had a fundraiser the other night. They started with a number of years ago when was the Humboldt crash, and they raised money for the victims of the crash. And this year they raised money for the Alex and Raleigh Mercer food drive. So I want to just say thank you to all that for the players coming out and anyone that attended. And from all accounts, unfortunately I couldn't get there that night, but on all accounts it was very successful. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Councillor Connors. Councillor Hardy.
Thank you, Mayor Bent. Like others, I was going to speak about Acts of Kindness Week, so just a short one there is every act of kindness matters, big or small, even if you want to do it with your own family, you know, going out and cleaning up some garbage or debris that's in the community, that's an act of kindness, so that's something me and my family will be doing this week. Also, there reminder that swimming lessons open this evening, 6:30, so that's, you know, certainly get the kids registered for the lessons. There's group and private, and I guess one of the big benefits, me being a parent, parents no longer have to get into the water with the kids, so that's certainly a big win for all of us. Thank you, Mayor Bent.
Thank you, Councillor Hardy. Councillor Barrett.
Thank you, Your Worship. I had an opportunity to attend the Hospitality Newfoundland Labrador convention there a couple weeks back, and it was great to see a number of Conception Bay South operators there. Hopefully it's a good sign for the next few months, and as we continue to expand from, I guess, restrictions due to COVID-19. And also just want to briefly touch on, I anticipate Councillor Hillier will bring this up a bit later, but we did have our Builders Forum last week, and it was a pleasure to attend that, and again, continue with a number of these in-person opportunities to connect with folks. I think it's really, the Zoom life has been really convenient, but nothing like chatting with folks in person and meeting up and doing workshop type things. So a couple big things over the past couple weeks that have been great to be involved with.
Thank you, Councillor Barrett. Councillor Moores.
Thank you, Mayor Bent. I do have a few things to say, so sorry, Councillor Hillier, this might take a couple minutes. I just want to acknowledge some of the fantastic athletes we have in Conception Bay South. First off, we had our CBS Squash Club that attended the Atlantic Regional Championships in Halifax recently, and of the 5 divisions, our club came away with 3 division champions. Boys under 13 was Owen Smith, girls under 15 was Alexa Fleming, and girls under 19 was Sophie Tulk. So, you know, this is for a small community with a small squash group. It's amazing that they went away and did these things. So congratulations to all those athletes. In the swimming world, I just want to congratulate Daniel Pierce. He's with the CBS Bluefins, and he qualified for the Speedo Eastern Championships. And from what I understand, this is only the 3rd time anyone from CBS has ever qualified. So this is fantastic news. With hockey, we have a lot of things that are going on here locally. So the Sportscraft Eastern Icebreakers captured both the under 18 and under 15 AAA female provincial championships. And they are both headed to Atlantics. And we do have some local players who are under 13, Gabrielle Tucker, under 15, Tiana Lambert, under 18, Haley Ryan, Katie Parsons, Maggie Bussey, and Deneen Walsh. So all those girls will be traveling to Atlantics. And we also, our Tricom AAA Under 15 Thunder team are heading to Atlantics in New Brunswick after defeating the St. John's Hitmen 1-0. And our CBS players are Jack Bartlett, Will Carroll, and Mason Strong. And our Tricon AAA Under 13 Thunder heading to Atlantics in PEI defeated Tri-Pen Ice 5-0. And we have Parker Banks, Thomas McCarthy, Quinn Norman, Ryan O'Toole, Cameron Spurl, and Drew Morris, who are players of that team. So huge congratulations. That's all very big accomplishments for local athletes here in CBS. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Morris. Yeah, very impressive indeed. It's great that we've been able to reach such heights in a lot of these sports, and some of them doing it for the first time and showing new levels of achievement for sure. So congratulations to all those athletes who have made a big difference in their sports. Councillor Butler.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a few little items there. First of all, I wanted to remind residents of the post on our town social media for the Neighbourhood Watch program. Just wanted to let residents know you can start a program in your area by becoming a block captain. If you want any more information on this, you can check on the website or you can contact the Enforcement Division. As you're well aware, I announced Mabel and Alice's 100th birthday, so I had the pleasure of visiting them there 2 Sundays ago now, and had a wonderful visit, and she told lots of stories, and we had some nice pictures taken, and they're on our social media, and they're on the town's social media and on mine. And also I contacted the Honourable Judy Foote, our Lieutenant Governor, and she was very pleased to hear from me and was very delighted to be able to congratulate them also, and she posted it on her social media. And she also got some certificates in the mail for me to present to them from Government House. That's wonderful. And my last item is Comedy Night at Emmanuel's River, an evening sure to tickle your funny bone. A night of comedy featuring Christopher Tobin, Stephen Vanier, and Todd Butt will take place on May 6th. Tickets are available at emmanuelsriver.ca. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Butler. And Councillor Tilley.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just one, and I'm not going to belabor it. This week is Volunteer Week, and just like to say thank you to everyone who volunteers. Whether it's a local church group, sports, service clubs, everyone should be commended for the work that they do for volunteer. And I've been doing it for years, and I guess I'll continue doing it until the day I'm no longer here. But kudos to everyone for volunteering. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tilley. And just to finish up, I'm going to mention a couple of things. This past week, Council was able to host, again, finally, the Builders Forum. And we had a number of developers and contractors, surveyors, real estate, and people representing that industry, the people that have put millions of dollars worth of infrastructure into our town over the past number of years, and it was great to be able to be around a table with them, to have our planning department, and thank you to Corey Davis and his staff in the planning department for working with these people at the meeting. We had a lot of great question and answer sessions at the tables, and some great information was exchanged, and it allows us as a town to work closer with, and it allows us to understand the concerns that any of the builders have, so that we can work with them to alleviate those concerns, and keep in open channels with the people that have done so much work in our town, like the people involved in this industry, is fantastic, and we look forward to meeting with them again. I thought it was a very productive meeting, and it was well done. And again, thank you to the planning staff for being at all the tables, and the councillors that were there, a number of councillors there that were there to assist in answering questions and taking notes and bringing those matters back to staff, so we can work with those developers going forward in a better way. And I just want to finish off on the volunteer note, and I may be stepping on somebody's toes later on when it comes to their time, but I just wanted to note that I want to send a thank you to all volunteers, but two in particular who are setting up the 9th annual Spirit of Alex and Riley food drive here in our town. Bernice and Louise and Bernie Mercer, who have done so much work over the past 9-10 years to gather food, to gather presents for people at Christmas time in the names of their children, Alex and Riley. And Alex and Riley had the same birthday, May 9th, and on May 9th each year they hold a food drive that brings in, I couldn't tell you how much food, but it's an amazing amount of food for our food bank, and it's an incredible bit of volunteer work they do, and they do it in the memory of their children, of course. But I hope everyone will get out and support them, and thank you to the volunteers that helped them with this, from the schools right through to organizations throughout the town. And I know Councillor Connors mentioned the senior hockey did so as well. So this is volunteers coming together to help volunteers to help a great cause, and it's just the way the things work really well, and they work really well here in Conception Bay South, and thank you to everyone involved. Okay, recommendations of the Planning and Development Committee, Chair Councillor Hillier. Floor is yours for a while, Councillor Hillier.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Following our recommendations coming forward from our committee meeting of April 11th, last Monday. 5A, 6 Little Bell Place. Be it so resolved that in accordance with Council's discretionary authority, the landscaping aspect of application 1346 received on March 21st, 2022 to landscape the front yard of 6 Little Bell Place with decorative stone be approved. And further, be it so resolved in accordance with Section 15 of the town's fence regulations, the fence aspect of the application number 1346 received on March 21st, 2022 for a front yard fence at 6 Little Bell Place be refused in consideration that it does not border a public walkway, does not constitute a retaining wall, does not delineate the driveway, nor is there an established form of front yard fence along the street. So moved.
Seconder. Councillor Connors, discussion?
Yes, Your Worship. In this situation, the resident submitted a recommendation, or submitted a request for a permit to landscape the front of the property with something other than lawn, rocks and stone and so on, and incorporated in that was a fence. Basically what we've done, we've approved the landscape items, the rocks, stone and so on, but the fence doesn't meet our fence regulations, and we've denied that part of the permit.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried.
Number 5B, be it so resolved that in accordance with sections 10.7 and 10.11.2 of the town's development regulations, application number 1284 received on February 28, 2022 for development of a 6-unit row dwelling at 7 Pine Tree Road be approved, subject to the installation of municipal water and sewer services at Pine Tree Road. So moved.
Seconder. Councillor Barrett, discussion?
Yes, Your Worship, this is a multi-unit building, 6 units at the top of Pine Tree Road, just inside the funeral home. I know we had this out for advertising. We received some letters of concern and so on, and we've been through them all, and we feel that in looking at the pros and the cons, that we've come forward with this recommendation.
There we go. Any further discussion?
Yes, Your Worship. I had a lot of time to, I guess, review a lot of the submissions that were made, and I spoke to some people. A lot of people made some phone calls and everything. And I just want to clear up some misconceptions. A lot of people had some issues with, as soon as they hear the word row housing, it makes reference to, I guess, a certain particular type of housing. But I'd just like to quell people's, I guess, their thoughts. The original intent from this developer is to develop this particular area only after water and sewer services go in this particular street, and I believe this street is on the list for possible water and sewer this year. The applicant also indicated there's a lot of people who replied back with concerns regarding that it's probably going to be multi-story, but it's in fact only going to be single-story dwellings. I think it's a good fit for the area. Some people had some concerns as well about regards to property values, that the property values will go down. I've seen these types of housing units go out throughout CBS, at least 15, 20 times in the past 20 years, and I've never seen a house in the surrounding neighborhood lose their depreciation of any kind. There's also concerns regarding traffic congestion in the area. Everyone is aware that it's the local funeral home in Conception Bay South, so there are times where traffic can be a bit congested, and it's not a 7-day-a-week, all-day thing. So I mean, I'm pretty pretty confident that we could be able to handle that type of building construction. There were some concerns about added traffic as on the street, and of course, with all building developments that we do have in Conception Bay South, the developer has to meet certain standards, and of course, parking is one of them, and that kind of stuff. And I guess another thing that really pops up in my mind is that the town doesn't have the authority to enforce or dictate who lives where and what age people live where and what kind of houses they can build. Well, we do dictate in one sense what kind of houses, but we can't base it on a person's, whether their salary or whether it's a low income or seniors or whatever the case may be. So some people had some issues as well with regards to drainage issues on surrounding properties. And once again, this all goes as part of our development detail. We want to make sure that the developer knows that if there are any issues that do arise, that they have to address those issues. So I'm going to be supporting this recommendation this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tilley. Any further discussion?
If I could just add one quick thing, there's a need in our community to meet labor market demand and to provide affordable housing. And this motion, by approving this motion, we're doing both of those things. So just want to point that out.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, before you go to 5C, I have to declare conflict of interest. This particular development is within close distance of my residential property, and it may affect any potential, change in value of my property, so I have to declare conflict.
Okay. Now that we're back in chambers, Councillor Tilley, you have to actually get up and walk out of the room. So we'll wait for that.
Should have a cone.
Okay.
Your Worship, number 5C, 583, 585, Conception Bay Highway. Be it so resolved that in accordance with sections 4.10 and 10.11 and part 7 of the town's development regulations, the proposed subdivision of land at 583, 585 Conception Bay Highway be approved in principle, subject to completion of a land use impact assessment report, and that the portion of Butlers Road South must be realigned and upgraded from Conception Bay Highway to the northernmost entrance of the subdivision from Butlers Road South. And further, be it so resolved that in accordance with section 5.8 of the town's development regulations, a building line of 8 metres be established along new roads within the proposed subdivision. So moved.
Seconder, Councillor Butler. Discussion?
Yes, sir, Your Worship. We're confirming here a decision by previous council, I believe, to have this developer do a land use impact assessment report. This is a significant development in that area. Some of the things that need to be considered, wastewater management, traffic flow, and so on. So we're asking that this developer do a formal land use impact assessment report to bring forward to us before we finalize the permitting process.
Any further discussion?
If I might have a moment,
Yeah.
Mayor Bent. Is this, it's not standard for land use impact assessment reports for subdivision development? Am I correct?
I'm not sure if it's a standard, but where we see one to be necessary, we...
Because I did read that there was a traffic assessment done. Was that correct?
There was, yes, there was traffic assessment done.
Okay. All right. Okay. I just wanted to ask.
Okay. Any further discussion? Yes, Councillor Connors.
I just wanted to ask the question. This will include public consultation. We've already gone through a public consultation a number of years ago, but it will include new public consultation.
This will involve public consultation as well. Yeah.
And I think the traffic study was done by the proponent. And
It wasn't done to the degree that we're asking it to be done at this point in time.
Correct. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried. Councillor Tilley can be brought back into the room. Yeah. Okay, there he is. All right.
Your Worship, number 5E, 5 Peachytown Road. Be it so resolved that in accordance with sections 10.7 and 10.11.2 of the town's development regulations, I'm sorry, Your Worship, I'm at number 47 Fowler's Road. Be it so resolved that in accordance with sections 10.7 and 10.11.2 of the town's development regulations, application number 1297, received on March 4, 2022, to operate a personal service use, music lessons and studio as a home-based business from 47 Fowler's Road, be approved. So moved.
Seconder. Councillor Hardy. Discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried.
Now we get to 5 Peacetown Road. Be it so resolved that in accordance with sections 4.142 and 10.11.1 of the town's development regulations and consideration of feedback received from a neighbouring property owner about the proposal, application number 1140 received on December 13, 2021 to redevelop the property at 5 Peachytown Road by converting the existing single dwelling to a double dwelling, be approved. So moved.
Seconder. Councillor Moores. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried.
Number 5F, 1 Gardner Drive. Be it so resolved that under authority of section 3.12 of the town's development regulations, application number 1313 received on March 9, 2022, seeking approval of a variance to reduce the minimum rear yard depth from 10 metres to 9 metres at 1 Gardner Drive, be approved. So moved.
Seconder. Councillor Barrett. Discussion?
Your Worship, this is not something uncommon that we deal with on a regular basis, where a particular resident wanting to build a particular house doesn't fit exactly on the property the way they'd like it, and needs some extra space, or needs some extra space for the house, which gives them less backyard space.
Yeah, and within the standard discretion of council for 10%.
Within the standard discretion of council.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried.
184 Tillys Road South. Be it so resolved that under authority of Section 102 of the Urban and Rural Planning Act 2000, Section 404(1)(e) of the Municipalities Act 1999, and Section 4.1 of the Town's Development Regulations, the order issued on April 7th, 2022, requiring the property owner remove or relocate an accessory building to a permitted location on the property at 184 Tillys Road South be confirmed. So moved.
Seconder. Councillor Moores. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried.
Excuse me, Your Worship. Excuse me, Councillor Hillier. I have to declare conflict as I have family living in close proximity to 5H 376 Conception Bay Highway.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Butler. Thank you.
Your Worship, 5H 376 Conception Bay Highway. Be it so resolved that under authority of Section 102 of the Urban and Rural Planning Act 2000, Section 404(1)(e) of the Municipalities Act 1999, and Section 4.1 of the Town's Development Regulations, the order issued on April 7th, 2022, requiring the property owner remove or relocate an accessory building to a permitted location on the property at 184. I've still got the same wrong. I'm stuck here. Oh, there we go. Let's try that again. They all start running together in your head after a while. Be it so resolved that under authority of Section 102 of the Urban and Rural Planning Act 2000, Section 404(1)(e) and F of the Municipalities Act 1999, and Section 4.1 of the Town's Development Regulations, the order issued on April 7th, 2022, requiring the property owner to cease and desist any further construction, remove the remnants of the existing building, and re-erect a security fence deemed acceptable by the town to restrict public access to the site immediately until the site is cleared on property at 376, 378 Conception Bay Highway. Be confirmed. So moved.
Seconder. Councillor Hardy. Discussion?
Yes, Your Worship, this is the property at the intersection of Church Road and Route 60, and I'm sure all of our residents who go by there every day will only be too glad to see that cleaned up.
Right. And this is council confirming an order that's already been made. So-
That's correct.
Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried. We will have Councillor Hardy is acting as Sergeant at Arms this evening. Okay.
Your Worship, 5I, 4 Fowlers Road. Your Worship, as a result of some information coming forward recently, we're going to defer that item for tonight.
Very good.
And 5J, 1283, 1293 Conception Bay Highway. Be it so resolved that upon payment of processing fee and deposit, and in accordance with Section 14 of the Urban and Rural Planning Act 2000, the town initiate an amendment process to consider rezoning a portion of the property at 1283, 1293 Conception Bay Highway from the open space conservation to the residential medium density R2 zone. And further, be it so resolved that the town requests the Minister of Municipal and Provincial Affairs to allow the town to undertake initial consultation for redesigning the same portion of 1283, 1293 Conception Bay Highway from restricted development to urban development in St. John's Urban Regional Plan. So moved.
Seconder. Councillor Connors. Discussion.
Yes, Your Worship, this is part of the process of working our way through a rezoning process, and this will come back to us on several times before it's finally finalized.
Further discussion? All in favor? Contrary minded? Carried.
And Your Worship, the blanket statement, be it so resolved
Excuse
that...
me, Mayor Bent. There's an item on the blanket statement for which I've declared conflict pertaining to Incinerator Road.
Okay.
Did I see that there?
Which one was that, Deputy Mayor?
I think it's Incinerator Road.
Incinerator Road.
Yeah.
Okay.
Excuse me.
We're going to have to look into getting you a stipend, Councillor Hardy, for your efforts in escorting people in and out of the room. Councillor Hillier.
Yes, Your Worship, finally, be it so resolved that decisions and recommendations made at the Planning and Development Committee meeting on April 11th, 2022 be accepted as presented. So moved.
Seconder. Councillor Barrett. Discussion?
Yes, Your Worship, as you can see, it was a fairly busy evening. We started out with a lot of councillors present, and as the evening wore on, it was just a stalwart committee members, Councillor Barrett and Councillor Connors, and we finished just in time to watch the hockey game, I believe. So as we saw earlier, we brought forward 10 recommendations or 11 recommendations for approval, and you stayed till the end, did you? And as you see, we brought forward 11 motions, but based on the blanket statement, I believe there are 23 items on that list, and it was a busy evening. So moved.
I remember that evening I went through a telephone and an iPad, both killed batteries before I was gone. Any further discussion? Sorry, I call for a seconder, I suppose, first. Yes, seconder. That's Councillor Hardy. Any further discussion? No? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried.
That's it for me, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Hillier, yeoman service for sure. All right, recommendations of the Engineering and Public Works Committee Chair, Councillor Gerard Tilley.
Thank you, Your Worship. These are recommendations from our Engineering and Public Works Committee from last week. 6A, approval to award tender 22-01, purchase of one new 2022 or newer municipal tractor. This tractor will be added to our fleet and will be used for sidewalk snow clearing and cleaning. Town currently has one tractor, but of course, as everyone is aware, we have a lot of sidewalks over the last 5 years, so a second tractor is required, and this is a budget item for 2022. Just give me 1 second. So, be it so resolved, the approval be given to award tender 22-01, purchase of one new 2022 or newer municipal tractor to Sanders Equipment for $147,600 plus HST. So moved.
Seconder. Councillor Connors. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried.
And 6B is an approval to award Steady Water Brook System upgrades, Phase 2. Continuing with our upgrades that we started last year, the next phase of our upgrade locations are Pandora Drive and Haggett's Turn. The project is cost-shared funding arrangement with the provincial government and within our budget. Is anticipated this work will start in the early summer, and construction updates, including traffic disruptions, will be available on the town's website as the time permits and becomes available. So the recommendation is, be it so resolved that approval be given to award Steady Water Brook Storm Upgrades Phase 2 to Eric Taylor Limited for $613,743.50, including HST. So moved.
Seconder. Councillor Hillier. Discussion? All in favor? Contrary minded? Carried.
And before I get into read the blanket recommendation, just want to give a couple of updates. Capital Works projects, our wastewater treatment plant shoreline stabilization project has commenced. We have increased construction traffic is expected along Pond Road area for the next several weeks. Traffic light work is commencing soon on Perrins Road and Easton's Road, and we expect that to be in the next couple of weeks or so. And as you can see just outside, our library is well underway with completion. Steel is going up fast and furious, and as well as our community park work is progressing in that area as well. Under our traffic calming, 2022 projects are currently preparing for late spring and summer installation. This includes the Dunshill Road pilot project, which is expected to have details announced in the coming days, and of course our school zone implementation program along Route 60 and installation of our temporary speed humps near our town's recreation facilities, as we've done in previous years. And just a friendly reminder to folks that anyone who wishes to submit a snow clearing damage claim, please visit our town website and submit a claim link, and the deadline for this is May 31st. And as usual, if you notice any potholes throughout town-owned roads, feel free to use our report a pothole link located on the town's website. Our street sweeping program has commenced. On-street parking ban still remains in effect, which greatly assists our street sweeping cleaning following the winter season. So, the blanket recommendation, be it so resolved that recommendation decisions at the Engineering and Public Works Committee meeting of April 12, 2022 be accepted as presented. So moved.
Seconder. Councillor Butler. Further discussion? I was going to comment on something you said at the beginning of your comments, Councillor Tilley, but I've forgotten. You got so much work going on in that department now, but that's a good sign of spring and summer for our engineering department to be on the go. Okay, I guess all in favor? Contrary minded?
All good.
Okay, we're good.
And that's it from Public Works.
Thank you very much, Councillor Tilley. Recommendations of Recreation and Leisure Services Committee. Chair, Councillor Shelley Moores.
Thank you, Mayor Bent. I just have a blanket statement for this evening. We met on April 12th, 2022. Be it so resolved that the recommendations, decisions made the Recreation Leisure Services Committee of April 12, 2022 be accepted as presented. So moved.
Seconder. Councillor Hillier. Discussion? All in favor? Contrary minded? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moores. Recommendations of Financial and Administrative Services Committee Chair Deputy Mayor Andrea Goss.
Thank you, Mayor Bent. As per our committee meeting on Monday, April the 11th, we have the following recommendations. Number 8A is accounts payables checks. Be it so resolved that approval be given to pay checks totaling $893,934.86 as per the attached listing. So moved.
Seconder. Councillor Hardy. Discussion? All in favor? Contrary minded? Carried.
Mayor Bent, 8B, manual checks. There is an item there that I'm in conflict. It's a deposit refund to a company I'm involved in. Councillor Melissa Hardy is going to take over.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, 8B, manual checks. Be it so resolved that approval be given to pay manual checks totaling $307,478.26.
Seconder. Councillor Barrett. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried. Councillor Hardy has to read the recommendation and then go retrieve the deputy mayor. A lot of work tonight. Thank you, Councillor Hardy.
Thank you, Mayor Bent. The next item is direct payments, 8C. Be it so resolved that approval be given to ratify direct payments totaling $443,770.22. So moved.
Seconder. Councillor Barrett. Discussion? All in favor? Contrary minded? Carried.
Okay, the next item. Too many windows opened. Next item is the capital invoice approval. And be it so resolved that approval be given to pay capital invoices totaling $245,971.88 as per the attached listing. So moved.
Seconder. Councillor Butler. Discussion?
These are items pertaining to our capital works projects, the community park, the library, the engineering for street upgrades, services, Steady Brook Culvert. It's all just our ongoing projects, and we're going to see a lot more of that
Excellent.
as we move forward.
Yeah, it's good to get those projects moving and get them towards completion. Any further discussion? All in favor? Contrary minded? Carried.
Okay, the next item, 8E, is the change in the meetings in our meeting schedule. Be it so resolved that the public meetings for the summer months will be held on June the 14th, July 12th, and August 16th. The regular public meeting schedule will resume for the month of September. So moved.
Seconder. Councillor Barrett. Discussion?
This is standard that in the summertime that because of different councillors with holidays, staff with holidays, and a lot of our works and approvals are already in progress, that we go on a reduced schedule while still delivering services.
Yeah, and lots of work getting done by committee in the background and forwarded to the next public meeting for public approval. So anything that is done in between meetings is always forwarded for the public viewing to see with the agendas. So thank
And
you.
anything that comes up, we can always pull together.
Yes,
in
exactly
the
right.
interim.
Exactly right. Technology today, there's no hiding. You can get you on a Zoom meeting anytime.
Anytime.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Contrary minded? Carried.
Next item, 8F, is asset management policy. Be it so resolved that approval be given to adopt the asset management policy as presented.
Seconder?
So moved, sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. Seconder. Councillor Connors, discussion?
This is a policy that is developed to manage assets. It's as simple as that. And it's just doing our due diligence to make sure that we are managing our assets and you know, the life cycle of our assets that we're using, that we're maintaining, and using our resources as effectively as possible.
Yes, and a lot of work being done behind the scenes by our staff, engineering especially.
Absolutely.
Listing and making sure that they have an up-to-date, I guess, inventory of what we have and where it is in its life cycle.
Yeah.
And that allows us to prepare better for replacement and budgeting going forward. So it's a good thing to have, and it's an important tool for a municipality of our size especially.
For sure.
And this is also a requirement from the federal government in a number of years' time, and I think we're way ahead of the curve for that, and I think it's really important that we got this done, and happy for all the work the staff has put in on this already.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Contrary minded? Carried.
And the last item is our blanket resolution statement, 8G, for the Financial Administrative Services Committee reports. Be it so resolved that recommendations of the Financial and Administrative Services Committee meeting held on April 11th be accepted as presented. So moved.
Seconder. Councillor Connors. No, sorry, Councillor Hillier. Close. Any discussion? All in favor? Contrary minded? Carried.
Thank you, Mayor Bent.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Goss. Recommendations of Economic Development and Tourism, Chair Councillor Butler.
Thank you, Your Worship. Two recommendations coming out of our Economic and Development Committee meeting of April 12th, 2022. One recommendation in the blanket. 9A is, be it so resolved that approval be given to release a call for expressions of interest for the naming of the building which will house the library. So moved.
Seconder. Councillor Moores, discussion?
Yes, Your Worship. The town would like to invite expressions of interest from anyone who would like to retain naming rights for our newest building currently under construction in Remembrance Square. Through a partnership between the provincial government and the Provincial Information and Library Resources Board, the building will be owned by the town and will house the public library, which will be operated by the Library Board. The building will be an 8,000 square foot, single-story building that will provide a versatile space that can accommodate evolving services and programs for the region for years to come. With a project budget of approximately $4 million, the building will include a reading hall, multi-purpose rooms, a children's programming space, a maker space, and an outdoor reading garden. During the design process, efficiency energy options were incorporated, including the use of solar power for key pieces of equipment. The successful proponent will be responsible for the cost of placing the name on the building, conforming to brand standards in collaboration with and to be approved by the town. Details for anyone interested in receiving a copy of the expression of interest will be available on the town's website and social media in the coming days.
Thank you, Councillor Butler. Any further discussion on this matter? All in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Carried.
Your
In the
Worship,
blanket- sorry.
Councillor, prior to the next recommendation, just wanted to declare a conflict as I live near the 2570 Topsail Road, and that file was discussed at the last committee.
Okay.
Blanket recommendation, 9B, be it so resolved that the recommendations and decisions made at the Economic Development and Tourism Committee meeting of April 12, 2022 be accepted as presented, and you'll see the list there of what discussions were at that time. So moved.
Seconder. Councillor Hardy. Discussion. All in favor? Contrary minded? Carried. Thank you, Councillor Butler. Other committee reports. Does anyone have something to report? I see Councillor Connors was first to hand up, so Councillor Connors, I assume maybe ATV committee?
No, well,
No?
I'm going to talk about ATV, but
Okay.
it's not the ATV committee, it's
Okay.
the Northeast Avalon Joint Councils Committee.
Yeah, okay.
We met last Wednesday, April 13th. A lot of council from the Northeast Avalon are represented on that committee. So in attendance was from the RNC was Sergeant Karen Didham. From the RCMP was Sergeant John Hedges. And also from the RCMP was the acting Eastern Director, Policing Officer, Inspector Keith McKinnon. So they did their little presentation, and then we got into talking about some ATV, the new ATV Act that's going to be introduced by the provincial government. And it was a lengthy discussion, and a lot of towns are in a similar situation that we are. There's a lot of discussion going on about the 1 kilometre travelling along the side road for the 1 kilometre, what are approved trails, what are approved areas. There was some discussion around the helmet laws and stuff like that, but that's sort of a given. But in order to be able to ride along, how your bike got to be registered, licensed, insured, and all that stuff. And it was really informative. To hear from other towns, like Portugal, St. Phillips, are doing similar to what we're doing. They're trying to identify an ATV trail. They're also working on some walking trails down there. There's been some discussion in their areas about how you handle all of that. The RCMP have partnered with AvTrack, which is headed up by a person who's on our ATV committee, Rick Noseworthy, and so they're going to be doing a whole education piece and safety program for the new regulations. There's still a lot to be discussed and learned, and how this is all going to be rolled out and how it's going to be enforced, and to get some clearer definitions. So what the Northeast Avalon Joint Councils Committee have asked is that the RCMP, RNC, and probably the provincial government do a presentation at one of the upcoming meetings. So we will hear from that, and I'll have more to report back. But every committee, or every town, every municipality is talking about the importance of developing ATV regulations, so to cut out any confusion around what's in the Act and what's in municipal regulations. So we'll be hearing more from that in the next little while as well. There was also some other, we did a round table, and different towns brought up different issues that they had, but that was the one that was most relevant to CBS right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Connors. Yeah, and education and safety are going to be key components of moving forward with however this plays out for all of our communities, and here in Conception Bay South, of course. And we look forward to hearing more on the regulations and how we can work with them and go forward with them for sure. And
the RCMP and with the RNC are going to meet with the RCMP over this, but the RCMP is doing a lot of education out around other areas, and they're going to adopt that and bring it into the RNC territory, I guess.
Good. Well, that's good. I look forward to having a presentation here at council from them and hearing what they have to say. Good. Thank you, Councillor Connors. Anybody else have a committee report? Yeah, Councillor Moores?
As I mentioned to council before, we just recently had the strategic session with the downtown CBS. So since then, we've met twice and went over, I guess, plans or their plans of what they're going to do and what's going to be priorities for the coming years, and also developing the budget and making some slight changes to the budget. So it's going to be lots of exciting things coming from there soon. Thank you.
Good. Excellent. Good news. Anyone else have a committee report for committees that we have a lot of committees that we sit on, but they don't always meet on a regular basis, some of them quarterly and so forth. So if that's it for this evening, I'm going to call for an adjournment. Moved by Councillor Tilley, seconded by Councillor Butler. All right, thank you, everyone, and we will be back in early May. Good night.